Welcome to Learn to Sew Academy channel. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for joining me in another video today. We're going to be making wide leg pants. It's also the same method you'll use if you wanted to make these shorts right here. In this project, we're going to be making a 3/4 length pants, and it's going to have elastic at the back, but the front is going to be flat, and on either side, on both sides, we're going to have belts. So we're going to have a belt attached to the right and a belt attached to the left. Now this waistband is exactly the same waistband that I did in my prior video on how to make a skirt, and I'm going to be linking that in the description so you see what I did in the other skirt as well if you're interested in seeing that video. All right, let's get started on this project. So for this pant, again, it's going to be very easy, very simple. The front and the back, I'm going to be cutting it exactly the same, so it's different from the other video I made on the pants, the ladies pants I made a while back, so you can check that out. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description. That is more fitted if you wanted to make a more fitted pant, but this is a simple free pant. So what I'm going to do is I want to fold this into 4. You can also fold it into 2, and then you can cut them in 2s if that works easier for you, and I'm just going to do that right now. Or you can just fold into 4 and then cut both the front and the back together. Now when we are folding, you want to put into consideration the hip you're using and the measurement, the tie measurement. That is your laps. When you go around the tie, you want to know how big you want that to be. Again, this is free. So the hip I'm using here is 44. The length of this is going to be 30. The length of the pants I'm going to be making is 30 inches. Again, it's 3/4 length, and you can use the same thing to make it short, only that you'll cut it and make it shorter than the length I'm using. So I'm going to use a waist of 36, but the waist is going to be added separately because I'm going to do, since I'm making the front flat, the back elastic, I'm going to cut that separate and we're going to add it on here. But when I fold now, I want to consider the tie I'll be using. The tie length I'm using here is 30 inches, and when I fold, we divide that into 2. So that tie was for each tie, each lap. So we divide that into 2. That gives me 15 inches. So I'm going to add some extra for sewing allowance and all. So I'm going to add 2 inches more. So I'm going to be considering 17 inches right here. And because this is free, again, it's going to be different from the other pants that I made earlier. And first off, I'm going to cut out the length that I need. I'm going to be using a length of 30 inches. But then remember, I'm going to be adding extra here for my waistline. And it depends on what waistline you're using. You know, so I'm going to take out 3 inches for the waistline because I'm going to let it be a little bigger. So the rest of the pant that I'm going to be cutting here is going to be 27 inches. For my bottom allowance, I'm going to leave an extra 1.5 inches for the bottom. And then for the top, I'm going to leave 1/2 inch, making 2 inches altogether. So my 27 plus 2 inches is going to give me a total of 29 inches. I'm going to join the lines. I'm going to connect this, and I'll just cut this part out. And I like to cut the part I'm working with out whenever I'm working with a bigger fabric, because it just helps to control the fabric better. So now I like to use this part at my as the bottom part of the pant. It's going to be full around the waist. It's not going to be fitted. So even though I know my waist measurement, I'm going to make it bigger. And because it's going to be free, it's not going to be too tight. It's going to be a little loose around that area as well. So from my middle point, I'm going to measure 3.5 right here. I'm going to use a length of 13 inches. Now remember, I'm also going to be sewing it. So when we sew it, it's going to come down to around 13.5, and this will end up to be around 4 inches from there. So whatever you've decided to do with yours, just put that into consideration. So what I'm doing is I'm just making a curve from up there all the way down. I'm just going to put a little slant over here in the middle. So I'm just going to do about 1 inch. Just to give it a little slant. And I'll just join that. And then I'll cut. And then I'm gonna open this. Then I'll cut another one that's going to be exactly like this as well. So I'm cutting 2 more because 2 will be for the front and 2 will be for the back. So I'm gonna be folding it so that I have the same pattern at the bottom. And then we just trace this out and we cut exactly the same thing, so we don't need to do any more measurements. So like I said, this is pretty simple and straightforward. You can also trace it out if that works better for you. You can decide to trace it out if that's going to work better. And then we open the sides. So in this case, I'll just measure what I have here. And remember, it's going to be 2 that we're joining together. So when we extend it out, we'll be having like 28 inches. So I'm going to just cut a long strip of fabric for the back that's going to be 28 inches long. So to cut the waist, we're going to fold this into 2. And I'm going to measure the 14 inches. Okay. I need a 3 inches wide waist. Okay, and I'm going to be adding allowance to that. So if I fold this up like that, because when I do my waistband, this is going to be the top of it, and this is going to be where I'm going to be joining to the waist area. So if I fold it up like this, I'm looking to have 3.5. So that means both ways 3.5, 3.5. So you can just spread it out like that and just measure your 7 inches. That's 3.5 plus 3.5, 7 inches. That's another way you can do this. Or you can fold it and then measure it like that. And I know I need 14 again. And so now I cut this. So that when I sew it, I'm gonna be folding it like this. So the next thing is to do the front waistband. To do the front waistband, I'm going to have to fold it in as well, because that too is going to be doubled like that. But for the front waistband, what we're going to do is we're going to use half of whatever our waist was. So we know that the waist we are using is 36 inches, and half of 36 inches is going to give us 18 inches, and we're going to add our allowances, whatever we decided that to be. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and I'm going to measure my 18 inches plus allowance. And the allowance will be on both sides because we're going to join both sides, as you will see when we start sewing this. So I'm just going to put half an inch allowance, or you can do a little over that. If you're a beginner, you may want to do like a 1. So that may be better for you. So I'm doing, again, it was 18. So this way I have an allowance that's like 0.75 on both sides. And we know we need the same length that we used before, which is going to be 7. And then connect with your ruler. We're going to make some belts, and it's totally up to you how long you want the belt to be or how short you want it to be. I'm gonna do a 40 for each length. You can do longer. I think in the skirt I made the other time I used like a 45 or thereabout. And then I'm going to make the height of it just a little shorter than my waistband. I used 3 for the waistband, so I'll use 2.5 for the. Okay, perfect. This is just perfect. So I'm gonna now cut out. Like I said, I need 40, so I'm gonna cut 40 out of here. It's better to have it too long than too short. If it's too long, you can always trim it to get the size you want. And then I'm going to cut this into 2 because I need 2 belts, 1 on each side, to give me my 2 belts. And then the edge, I'm going to slant the edge a little. Just like that. If you want it curvy, you can make it curve a little too, or you can make it straight. So I'm just going to slant that edge. I'm going to cut the pockets real quick. I folded this into 2 because I'm going to cut 2 together. And I have a video on how to do just the pockets. It gives you a really thorough explanation on doing the pockets. And I'm just going to carve this all across. I'm going to make this deeper. Just want to manage this piece of fabric that I have here. And then it's going to depend on how deep you want your pocket to be, or how shallow. I'm gonna link the video where I made just the pockets. So this is what I'm just doing. I want to see where my hand is going in, and I want to curve it around depending on how deep you want it. If you want it shallow, move your hand back and trace that all around. Remember to add your sewing allowance to that. So I'm just going to go with what I have here. Gonna fold this, and I'll just place this on it. And you can either trace it or Just cut it straight like that.